This is Townsquare Sunday on 1420 WBSM, the place where people come together to talk about the good things happening in and around New Bedford.
Come together right now. Oh.
And now, the moderator of Townsquare Sunday, Jim Phillips.
It's Sunday morning and it's time for Townsquare Sunday. Good morning, I'm Jim Phillips. We start our show this week with a discussion about homeless individuals and families in our region, what some local groups are doing to help them. New Bedford Connect is the name of the event, and it's planned for Wednesday, October 24th at the downtown YMCA. Joining me to talk about the event is Leslie Poulin. She works for First Citizens and which is the key sponsor really for this event, and Jim McKay of Mass Development, and who's also involved with Rise Up for Homes, which is another of the sponsoring organizations, and really I think the foundation for this event coming up on the 24th. So welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And we're going to start, I think, with you, Leslie, and talk about what is New Bedford Connect. What's the purpose of this event?
Yep. So New Bedford Connect is a one-day event where we gather all of the different agencies and support organizations in one place, one location, so that anyone who is homeless or at risk of becoming homeless can attend this event and get the help that they need. They can be enrolled into different housing programs for shelter. They will actually get health screens. They will get dental checkups. They will have flu shots at the event, and we will also have donated hats and scarves that were knitted by a lot of the local Council on Aging groups, so we're very thankful for them for that. They'll also be fed. We're going to give them some food, breakfast, lunch, and most importantly, they'll be getting IDs. Those that qualify to get an ID will be able to get a free ID on that day.
All right, so that's a short synopsis of what's going to happen that day. But what have we done to ensure that the homeless population will show up, will be there and show up, I guess is my question, because obviously transportation's a big deal here,
Yep.
And some of these folks, they may simply not want to be there.
Yep.
For whatever reason. Jim, what's some of the logistics behind getting folks to show up?
Sure. One of the first things is to make sure that all the service providers know about the event and that they can reach out to their clients and the folks who need to be there to make sure that they are there. So whether they a lot of people do end up walking. It is downtown. It's in a central location. So it is near the bus station. And so some people will arrive by bus. A lot of people will arrive by foot. But then there will be some of the agencies as well providing transportation. So there will be a route that we've established throughout the city to pick up people on a regular basis. So that will be a sort of continuous loop while the event is going on, and people can be picked up for free at those locations.
All right. So those addresses, if you will, be provided by the providers as part of the Homeless Service Providers Network?
That's right. So those locations tend to be key locations for these service providers. So PACA in the north end, Sister Rose in the south end. Some key locations that that the population will know about.
Now this event runs, I believe, 9 to 1. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
On the 24th. Okay.
Yes.
And you've mentioned some of the things that are available.
Mm-hmm.
Once these folks arrive, once the homeless folks arrive. And it's an attempt really to help them with some immediate needs, whether it's scarves or socks or whatever those needs are. But isn't it really an attempt also to reach out and say, it's time to come in, it's time to stay, the weather's going to get bad here.
Yes.
It's an attempt to kind of deliver that message as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Leslie.
Yes. Like I said, there'll be these agencies. We have 41 agencies that are registered to be at this event, or service providers. And it's everything from anyone who needs help with addiction, mental health. There'll be counselors. A lot of social workers will actually be on site. So Seven Hills will be there. Gosnold will be there this year. But then we have the Family Center from the United Way will be there doing the flu shots. So this is the one day where they can basically come to one location and basically access all these different services to help them basically get off the streets. Yeah.
But as we know, I think the three of us know, folks are not anxious to get off the streets until they're ready to get off the streets. And that's a very difficult thing to get some of these people to come in. And so you've got some trained people there to talk to these folks, Jim. There'll be some people to, share the good word, share the message.
That's right.
That.
Yes, and also to maybe relieve some of the anxiety about getting off the street. I know that there are some individuals, who haven't been in a shelter or in a dwelling place for a long time. I think that those are maybe relatively few among the the homeless population, the unsheltered homeless population. But this event, too, is for people who are at risk of homelessness, people who are temporarily homeless as well. So there are a lot of resources to help them get back on their feet as well. So it's trying to really, reach out to the entire, community of people who are either homeless or at risk of homeless, and then to be able to, get them the services that they need and provide ways to begin to break down the barriers that might be preventing them from seeking additional help or seeking, permanent shelter. So getting them the IDs is one of the key things that will be offered during the event. That's important because you need a Massachusetts ID in order to access a lot of the services. So being able to provide that is an important piece of this event and will continue to be. The first time it was done in 2016, I believe it was around 42.
Yes.
IDs that were provided last year. That went up to, I think it was 81. Oh, 82.
82. Mm-hmm.
And so, we hope to keep maintaining those numbers and help to grow, the number of IDs that we can provide.
What do you folks still need? Are the things that you need to get ready? We're a little over 2 weeks out, little less than 3 weeks out, really. So what do you still need to get ready?
So right now we're in a good place, except that we do need volunteers. We always need volunteers to help us with the event on that day. But right now we're really struggling is actually with some of the food donations that we get. We're good with some of the lunch items, being able to provide them lunch. Domino's has been gracious enough to donate pizzas, but we also have Cafe Mimo and Lorenzo's providing additional lunch items and many others. The New Bedford Votech is providing food as well, Tia Maria's and others. But the need right now is really for breakfast items. We're really short on the basics like coffee, and we don't have muffins or donuts or any kind of breakfast pastries to be able to offer. So we're still working on getting some of those donations in, but that's really the need right now is getting some of those breakfast items in.
And you need bodies, volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned to handle some of the logistical stuff, to serve meals, whatever
exactly.
it is. How many volunteers do you need, Jim? Do you have a handle on that?
I'll defer to Leslie on that one. I think Kelly, who is with Bay Coast, has been.
So Kelly, who works for Bay Coast Bank, is also on the advisory committee for this group, and she's our volunteer coordinator. She does a fantastic job. I think we are about 20 volunteers. We probably need a good maybe 10 more, just so that we have enough, because we do have, they fill out a survey when they come in. They check in when they come in. A lot of them need help understanding where to go. Who should I see if I need help with this? So that we always have volunteers ready to help answer any of those questions. And then, like you said, serving the food, clean up, setting up, all that stuff. So.
All right. You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. My guests are Leslie Poulin and Jim McKay, some key folks looking to aid the homeless through an event called New Bedford Connect. That's happening on October 24th at the downtown YMCA from 9 to 1. And I should follow it up with, if you want to volunteer, what do you do? Where do you go to sign up?
You can visit the website, so riseupforhomes.com, or you can email info@riseupforhomes.com, and we'll get that email and we'll reach out to you to get you volunteered.
All right. Is it McKay or McKeg?
McKeg.
McKay. All right.
McKeg.
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 I'm sorry. All right. 5-letter word. I know. Can't understand.
quite all right. Happens all the time.
So how many homeless folks are there in New Bedford, Jim?
So every year, the Department of Housing and Urban Development requires that all of they're called local continuums of care, so it's a network of service providers, do a point-in-time count. So it's a single day every year. That in January, yep. This year was January 24th, that people go out and they count the people who are either sheltered individuals or who are unsheltered. And so this last year, there were 398 individuals who were, counted, and roughly 49. I think 49 of those were unsheltered. So we've seen a slight increase, but that's one day that you get to count everybody. So you might not. Get to everybody. You might not. They might not come into the shelters, but an effort is made to make sure that people are coming to the shelters those nights. On colder nights, the counts tend to be probably a little bit more accurate because more people are coming in to seek shelter. So as of the last count, we've had 398 that were total, 49 of which were unsheltered.
And that number has basically stayed fairly steady from like 350 to maybe a few bodies over 400. That's kind of where it's been stuck, I guess, for the last few years, somewhere in that range. Why can't we seem to reduce that number? Why is it always we have 350 or more? It seems, look, a lot of people have been working, you two people know, a lot of people have been working awfully hard on this problem for a long time. Now you get help from the federal government in terms of dollars to help with programs, and that's that's terrific. Hopefully that'll continue for a good long while, but we can't seem to reduce that number significantly. Troubling, or do you just accept whatever it is? What about you, Leslie? How do you feel about that?
Well, for me, it's really just for the overflow shelter at Sister Rose, the emergency overflow shelter. It's really just, the purpose for Rise Up for Homes is really to get them out of the cold during that time. But I think a lot of it may fall on the fact, too, that many of them have been out of society for so long that, even if they come to New Bedford Connect, it may be their attempt of coming back into society and getting the help. But it could be because of mental health issues or addiction that it brings them back to what they're most comfortable with, which is sometimes, unfortunately, being homeless. So, yeah. And I don't know if Jim, if you want to add
I would
to
also
that.
add that it's partly a product of how much opportunities we have as individuals. I mean, things happen to all of us. We all have unfortunate events in our lives. We all face different struggles and challenges at certain points in our lives, and some of us have more options to fall back on when those things happen to us. And oftentimes, people who find themselves homeless are, they have other issues, and they might not have a lot of the same options that some of us may have. And going without a home may be, the best option that they find, is available to them at that time. So as well as people who do have chemical dependencies, who do have some mental health issues. It might be people who are facing domestic violence. It might be people who have lost a job. It might be people who are working, but for whatever reason, find that life has dealt them some blows that they're not able to recover from fully at that time. So cost of living is up these days. And if you see the trends, in terms of what it costs to maintain a house, to pay for your utilities and all those things, all those costs of living have gone up, and wages have remained relatively stagnant over that time. So the burden on more and more people who don't have the social networks and other things to rely on, kind of creates conditions where unfortunately we might see more people who are on the edge of homelessness, mm-hmm. or who are experiencing homelessness. So it can happen to all of us. It can happen to anybody, and I think that's an important thing to remember when we think about the homeless population.
How can people learn more about New Bedford Connect, Leslie?
Yep, it's by visiting our website, riseupforhomes.com. There's information regarding Rise Up for Homes in general and what we do and what its mission is, but there's also a lot of information on there about New Bedford Connect as well.
Well, tell us about Rise Up for Homes for a minute. Just you could give us a brief synopsis of what they do.
Yep. So Rise Up for Homes is really, well, actually, you might be able to help out with this one a little bit more, Jim, but it's almost the fundraising and the community awareness arm of the Homeless Service Providers Network of New Bedford. So the mission is really to bring awareness and kind of change the stigma about what homelessness is. But we also raise funds to try to keep the emergency overflow shelter open during the really cold winter nights, which last year we had a really rough winter with about 73 nights being opened versus the previous year there was only about 42 nights, I believe.
44, I believe.
44. Yeah. So
I can't say it much better than that. And that is exactly why Rise Up for Homes exists. It is sort
the
of
fundraising arm.
The fundraising and outreach arm for the Homeless Service Providers Network, and also to maintain the emergency overflow shelter.
And to donate to Rise Up for Homes, how do you do that?
Yep, you can donate right on the website, right at riseupforhomes.com, or you can mail a check-in to Rise Up for Homes, 200 Mill Road in Fairhaven, 02719, or you can actually drop off a donation at any of First Citizens branches because we accept the donations there.
All right. Leslie Poulin and Jim McKay, thanks for coming in and talking to us about New Bedford Connect. It's October 24th, Wednesday, October 24th from 9 to 1 at New Bedford YMCA. Volunteers are still needed. Donations, of course, are needed because these things do cost money. And, I think you have a good idea based on last year how much stuff you need. And so some things are still needed.
Yes, definitely.
So donations would be welcome at this time. Good luck with New Bedford Connect, and thanks to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Townsquare Sunday will continue in just one moment.